Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in a resourceful feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, just get a sense that tension, stress, worries are leaving your body in your outward breath. As you breathe in and breathe out, notice that with your eyes closed, you're able to give more of your attention to the sound of my voice. As you breathe in through your nose and out through your nose, notice that as you exhale, any feelings of tension, stress, or worries, breath by breath, start to leave your body in your outward breath, enabling you to go deeper and deeper, relaxed. Now, imagine breathing in a bright, vibrant color that represents not just resourcefulness, but a deep sense of tranquility and relaxation. Imagine that vibrant color going up through your nose, into your mouth, into your lungs, enabling your heart to take that resourceful feeling of relaxation and distributing it to every cell in your body. I want you to get a sense that this resourceful feeling of relaxation has the key function of melting away feelings of tension in your body, but also to open up certain gates, previous blocks. I want you to imagine them as closed gates inside your body. And as you breathe in this resourceful feeling of relaxation, imagine these closed gates start to open. As you exhale, notice that a darker color feels like it's leaving your body. The darkness represents any feelings of tension, stress, and worries that have been let go and released. So that tension is leaving your body, and then on the next inward breath in, you're breathing in that resourceful feeling of relaxation. And it feels good to melt away that tension. For those closed gates to slowly start to open, and I want you to imagine perhaps a memory of a gate, perhaps an old rusty gate, hasn't been opened for a while, and that first time that gate opens, I want you to hear perhaps the squeaky hinges kind of opening. But isn't it interesting that the first time that gate opens, it could be more challenging, require more effort. But the next time is easier, and the time after that, until the gate can just open and close whenever it needs to. I want you to get a sense that as you breathe in this vibrant, resourceful feeling of relaxation, tension around your eyes is starting to just melt away. Any feelings of tension in your forehead, release that tension now. Notice any tension around the jaw. And again, allow yourself to just let go now. As your body relaxes, your imagination can become more playful. And there was a time where your imagination was infinitely playful. When you were playing with toys, you could see them as one thing, but imagine them to be something else. And as your childhood turned into teenage years, perhaps that imagination became less playful. And I want you to imagine what it would be like to take the playful nature of your imagination and to amplify that. Amplify that playful nature of your imagination and inject it into this vibrant color that you imagine that you're breathing in through your nose. So it's no longer just a sense of resourceful relaxation, but also playfulness within your imagination. As you exhale, it stands to reason that if you're breathing in playfulness, then any feelings of seriousness, any feeling of conditions, expectations, rules and regulations, just allow them to leave your body as you exhale. Because when you play, isn't it meant to be fun? Continue to breathe in and breathe out and notice that your imagination is capable of amazing things. I want you to imagine a palace on top of a mountain. Perhaps the highest mountain in the world, and imagine that right at the top, on the summit, on the peak, is a palace made of solid gold. And in that golden palace is a room. And that room looks exactly like your bedroom. I want you to imagine that you are in a bedroom that looks like yours in a golden palace on top of the highest mountain in the world. And make yourself comfortable on that bed. Imagine for some reason the bed feels more comfortable than it normally would. And I want you to get a sense as you lie there on that bed that you just accept that you are worthy. In fact, say it to yourself, I deserve pleasure. I deserve joy. I deserve to have fun. And notice that as you accept 100% that you deserve these things, that you are worthy of these things, notice that you can feel even more relaxed on that bed. I want you to notice that as you accept that you're worthy, you are increasing your thermostat of sensitivity. I want you to turn up the dial so that you're able to notice more physical sensations than you normally would. I want you to notice the texture of the fabric of the sheets. Notice the temperature in the room. Imagine your hearing is becoming more attuned, that you can hear your own breath, breathing in and breathing out. I want you to get a sense that as you accept that you're worthy of pleasure and joy, the natural side effect is that your senses become amplified. I want you to get a sense that sometimes the blocks that we feel are there are just in our imagination. As you breathe in that resourceful, playful feeling in through your nose, imagine it's melting away the tension, but it's also allowing those creaky old gates to squeak open. I want you to get a sense that these gates are gateways, emotional gateways. The more relaxed you feel, the more worthy you feel. Some of these old gates that have been closed for a while, and maybe gates that have never been opened, start to open. And as they open, you're opening up possibilities, no guarantees. But realize that if there are guarantees, there's no excitement. If everyone that entered the lottery won the lottery, there's no excitement. The excitement comes from the unknowns. The possibility that pleasurable, mind-blowing, exciting, amazing things could happen, but are not guaranteed. I want you to give permission to every cell in your body to be open to the possibility of pleasure. And if they accept, just let me know by nodding your head. Imagine falling asleep on that bed and imagining that you're in a water park. There's warm water, and for some reason, you're the only person in this large water park. And I want you to imagine that one of the things in this water park is almost like a big brightly colored container that you can see water filling up this container. And when it reaches a certain point, the gravity, all the weight of that water forces it forward, and a huge amount of water cascades down to the pool beneath. And then, because there's no water in this huge container, the gravity then tips it back up, and then it continues to fill again. And deep down you know that once that water has been released, it's only a matter of time before it has the capacity to release again, and again, and again. Imagine there is a very comfortable sun lounger by the side of this pool in this water park, just in your imagination. Imagine resting on that. And I want you to think back to a memory. Perhaps a memory, a moment of an early sexual experience where things felt right. And I want you to imagine, just within your imagination, that you are a fly on the wall, observing that moment, except you notice something different about that version of you. I want you to notice how relaxed she looks. I want you to notice how worthy she looks. It looks like she's been breathing in this resourceful feeling of playful imagination, and there is an absence of tension and stress. There is an attitude of playfulness. And I want you to observe. Observe her as she allows herself to experience pleasure with no expectations. I want you to notice that she has the confidence to influence and direct the person that she's with, communicating what she likes, what she doesn't like. Encouraging more of those things that amplify strong emotions like excitement, anticipation, playfulness, connection. See the energy exchanging between the two of them. But notice that this version of you back then has given herself permission to be open to the possibility of more pleasure than she's ever had before. And then observe. Observe as it seems like her senses are more attuned, more amplified. You can tell from how she's breathing, the dilation of the pupils in her eyes, that the pleasure is building up in her just as it seemed like the water was building up in that huge container in the water park. The more the pleasure accumulates, it reaches a point where the pleasure builds up so much that the center of gravity tips and she has to release all of that pleasure. And just observe as you see that younger version of you just allowing that to happen. I want you to get a sense that you're happy for her, that younger version of you that experienced that. And then I want you to rewind that just a few moments and then no longer be the observer. Place yourself in that body. What you saw happening to her, I want you to imagine feeling is happening to you. I want you to notice somewhere in your body it feels like the pleasure is building up and building up. And notice how relaxed you feel. Notice the lack of expectation. Notice how worthy and deserving you feel. And notice that in this body, the gates that were closed are no longer closed. They feel like they're open. But just because a gate is open doesn't mean that anyone has to walk through it. It just means there's the possibility. I want you to get a sense that in this body you feel that you are worthy, you are deserving, and it feels that you've felt this way for a while. I want you to feel that you're building up more and more of this pleasure inside of you, but not to release it. I want you to get a sense that you're leaving your body and then going forward to another memory, perhaps months or just a few years ago, and again observe the same thing. There you are, just observing in the corner of the room, completely invisible, just an observer. See yourself in a situation where you are open to the possibility of pleasure, but with no expectation that it must happen, it has to happen, just that it could happen. And that version of you is worthy and deserving of that. You can tell from your facial expressions. You seem relaxed, playful, open to the possibility of pleasure, but with no expectations. I want you to notice that that version of you has the belief that the more you focus on good things, the more you pay attention mindfully to touches, sensations, moments that give you pleasure, the more that you're building up that pleasure inside you. And maybe that pleasure is released and maybe it isn't, but I want you to observe that version of you open to building up more and more of that pleasure. In this particular moment, I want you to see things that you know create the most pleasure in you. Things from your past that you know, or things from your imagination that you know, but see them all happening in this moment. And just get a sense that that version of you is building up and building up more and more of that pleasure, that joy. And I want you to accept the suggestion that just as the water in that water park that built up that container, it didn't have a choice as to the point where it released all of that water. It was just a natural consequence of the pleasure building up more and more and more until it passed the point of threshold, and then what happened that followed is a natural reaction, a cause and effect relationship. And I want you to see that happening with you now. The pleasure builds and builds and builds, and then you can't force it, you can't make it, you can just experience it as you observe that version of you uncontrollably releasing that pleasure. See your body move the way it would move. Hear the sounds you would make. I want you to get a sense that the version of you many years ago was deserving of pleasure. This version of you also deserves pleasure. And then imagine going forward into the future. I want you to see yourself in your own bedroom, on your own bed, at your current age, perhaps just a few days or weeks in the future. Open to experiencing pleasure and intimacy. I want you to observe as you see yourself looking more relaxed, almost with a facial expression of knowing the possibility. I want you to get a sense that for a while now, you may have thinking if this will ever happen, and yet now you're observing yourself with a different mindset. That if you do something enough, it's just a natural reaction. If you try different things and continue to build up that pleasure, then what happens is just what happens in a completely natural reaction. I want you to see that version of yourself just days or weeks in the future, experiencing the most mind-blowing, uncontrollable release of joy and pleasure that you've ever seen yourself release. I want you to get a sense that what if in this version of you, all that pleasure that's been building up and building up and building up just means for a bigger release when it does get released. I want you to get a sense that delays are not denials. And what if you've been building up more and more pleasure that just means that that's what your future is comprised of? And then see yourself release that. See the expression on your face. Hear the sounds you make. See your partner's reaction. Observe it all. And I want you to feel good, knowing that this is in your past, it's in your present, and it's in your future. That version of you has let go of all that old baggage. How can that version of you believe that they can't do something that you're already witnessing them doing? I want you to get a sense that there is no pain there, only pleasure. And when all parts of your subconscious mind accept that you are worthy, deserving, and able to enjoy the pleasure as a natural side effect of exploring the things that makes you feel good, just let me know by nodding your head. I want you to shift perspective so you now feel that you are in the body of someone that has released just moments ago. Imagine leaving your bedroom. But as you look out of your window, I want you to notice that you're not in a palace. You're in your house. And you're not on top of a mountain. You're where you normally are. I want you to get a sense that what felt something completely out of reach and impossible now feels that it is just accessible, natural, and something that you feel well within reach. And if all parts accept that this is your past, your present, and your future, then you're ready to shift perspective to no longer be in this place. But I want you to get a sense that you're now returning to the present. You're in your own body now, firmly in the present, as you take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, get a sense that you're in your own physical body right now. And very soon I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you, but you will awaken believing that you are worthy, that you deserve pleasure. You will awaken believing that whatever blocks that were there have been unblocked, and you will awaken believing that gates that were closed are now open. And you will believe that when you build up pleasure, it's just a natural reaction for that pleasure to eventually be released. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.